Hi, I'm Esther Dillard with The Color Between the Lines, and today we remember the life and legacy of Congressman Charlie Rangel, not through the headlines, but through someone who knew him best. Lloyd Williams, president of the Harlem Chamber of Commerce and Charlie's dear friend of over 50 years, joined me to share personal memories of the man behind the politics, from their earliest years of friendship to Charlie's final days. This is more than just a tribute. This is a conversation about love, legacy, and leadership. Let's listen in. I appreciate you. I know how busy
Not a
you
problem.
are, and this is a holiday, and you should be off putting up your feet and enjoying yourself.
I've been rolling since 5 this morning
Oh, Lord.
when he passed away, so no big issue.
Wow. Well, I want to definitely honor his memory because there's so many people who are young people that really don't know what Charlie Rangel, who he was, and what kind of impact he had on our community. I know from growing up and seeing him in action, it was phenomenal to see his career. You were close to him for many years. When you think of him, you don't probably think of him as just a political a giant. You consider him a friend. So I guess what things come to mind when you think of your friend Charlie Rangel?
Well, Charlie Rangel was a close friend, but even more importantly, he was a valued senior mentor to me. And he and I have been together for over 50 years in different forms and fashions. When you think of Charlie Rangel uh, and you look at history, one of my first memories of him as he went into the Congress was the being on the committee that was appointed for the impeachment of Richard Nixon, and his pronounced questions and statements during the impeachment hearing. Then you then move to other things that he did that did not get as much attention as it relates to his efforts to strengthen the Caribbean Basin initiative to make sure that the Caribbean nations were able to receive the type of support and attention from the U.S. government. One of my strongest and most pronounced connections with Rangel was with Nelson Mandela, because Charlie Rangel and David Jenkins and a number of others took on the battle against apartheid when it was not in vogue, and many people were questioning and attacking them for why they were concerned about what was happening in this distant nation in Africa. And then as things moved forward and we ended up with Nelson Mandela not only being released with strong efforts from persons such as Rangel, etc., the massive gathering that came together in the village of Harlem, hundreds of thousands of people who came to cheer on Nelson Mandela as he was now not only released, but in the village of Harlem, hosted by Congressman Rangel. So you could go on with Rangel. You could look at the empowerment zone bill that he championed along with Bill Clinton, that created so many economic opportunities and development opportunities in urban America. Charlie Rangel was also a hero in Asia, particularly in Korea, because, of course, he fought in the Korean War, and in South Korea, he remained an icon. It's ironic yet prophetic that Rangel would transition on today because, as you know, he was awarded the Purple Heart, which is the highest honor a soldier in the U.S. Army can receive for his leadership in the Korean War. And so that he would now pass today on Memorial Day has its unique connections. This was a man who formed, along with Percy Sutton, Honorable Percy Sutton, the Congressional Black Caucus, which was created under the leadership of Rangel and with the support of Percy Sutton. And there's so many things you can speak about. His fight against drugs in urban America, his efforts to bridge the digital divide with technology, etc. But if I were to really connect what remains most with me, he was a nice guy. He was a funny guy. He loved jazz. He was a major jazz activist, and he worked with us in the creation and establishment of the Harlem Music Festival and Harlem Week, etc. So it's all about timing. I am, in fact, very happy that he has transitioned because it was time for him to go. I was with him 2 days ago, and as I sat there talking to him, and he was talking to me in a raspy, struggle voice, he told me, that he just wanted to rest and he wanted to move on. And I'm glad that he had that opportunity on today, Memorial Day, to leave and catch up with his wife, Alma, who passed away just a few months ago. When Alma passed, those who knew Charlie and their relationship knew it would only be a short time before he would be rushing to catch up with her.
You mentioned that he was a mentor to you. What did Charlie mean to you as a person? Because everybody knew him as the Lion of Lenox Avenue, but you probably knew him in a much more intimate way. What did he mean to you as a person?
We went to plays together. We went to concerts together. We traveled in the Caribbean together. We laughed together. He was a political animal, and he had a lot of advice and thoughts and direction in terms of which political direction our community, our city, our state, and our government should go in. So oftentimes there's almost sitting at the feet of Charlie Rangel and listening to him recite history and listening to him giving to me an update on his relationships, whether it was with a Malcolm X or whether it was a Miles Davis or Dinah Washington, and all of the things that he did. It was a tutorial that I shall never ever forget, and he was a funny guy.
I guess the last question I would say is, what do you think, if he were here, what do you think he would want people to remember most about him? Because I know he has a lot of accolades, but given the political climate and that we have today, what do you think, what would be his parting message?
Well, I spent a lot of time over the last couple of years with Charlie as he analyzed and communicated his thinking about Donald Trump and how disturbed and upset he was that someone with that type of backdrop and background could become the president of the United States. And so when I was speaking to Charlie most recently, he spent a great amount of time focusing on what we needed to do to organize ourselves for the congressional elections next year, recognizing that that might be our last significant time to counter Trump with that which he was doing. So even as he was ill, and even as he was not as agile as he used to be, he was still organizing and planning and trying to provide leadership, particularly to many of the younger elected officials who needed to have a sense in terms of which way was up.
All right. Thank you so much. Closing thoughts?
My closing thoughts is I'd like to thank my mentor and my friend, Charles Bernard Rangel, for what he did for my community of Harlem and for the Harlems of the world. I want to thank him for his vision and his leadership and his political acumen. And it'll be very difficult to find a replacement for Charlie Rangel, but I want to thank him for everything he did while he was here and wish him the best of life in the hereafter.
I'm sure he hears you and accepts that wonderful tribute that you've given to. Thank you so much, Lloyd Williams.
Okay.
I appreciate you. That's it for this edition of The Color Between the Lines. You can catch more episodes on the Color Between the Lines YouTube channel, on iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts.